Thanks very much, Eric, and thank you all for being here today to taking all the presentations. I do have to bring your attention to the standard forward-looking statement advisory. So as Eric said, Northern Shield is really better known as a nickel-copper PG explorer, but this presentation is really going to focus on our new gold projects in Eastern Canada that are being operated through our wholly owned subsidiary, Seaborne Resources. As over the years, Northern Shield implemented a very model-driven approach to its nickel-copper PG exploration, and that allows us to explore either very large tracts of land in a quick period, or for that matter, going to areas that have very little background database and explore these very efficiently. And this allows us to take opportunities of new targets that come our way. And so we simply exported that nickel model-driven approach to epithermal systems in Nova Scotia. As I say, the main focus right now is the Shot Rock property in northern Nova Scotia. It's located between the towns of New Glasgow and Antigonish, in northern Nova Scotia. We very much like Nova Scotia as a jurisdiction of exploration. It's got a very friendly, job-hungry population, and there are numerous targets there on the government database, mineral targets, mineral occurrences that either have not been explored at all or are very lightly explored. And not only that, as you'll see from the Shot Rock presentation, there's plenty of opportunities for brand new raw discoveries. So Shot Rock was brought to us by a very enterprising young prospector from Nova Scotia. He'd been following up on numerous golden anomalous HMC samples that have been taken in the area, mostly in the 60s, but for which no bedrock source had been found. He substantiated this by taking a number of pounding in the rivers and finding a number of gold grains in a specific area. And his initial interpretation of this was that the gold was coming from a very large conglomerate unit that he also identified in the area that was hitherto not on the maps. But very early on in our due diligence process, we identified some what we call colliform or banded quartz veins, very tiny banded quartz vein in a boulder sample that also came back with a pathfinder anomalous in gold, but also in the pathfinder elements arsenic, mercury, barium, and antimony, for example. And so right away we realized this was not the classic Maguma group gold, which is Nova Scotia is better known for, but it has had all the characteristics of a low sulfidation epithermal gold system, which has never been seen in Nova Scotia before. And so we'd say it was simply taking advantage of a unique opportunity that came our way. Some of these dots are a little bit small, but this is an outline of the Shot Rock property in northern Nova Scotia right now. It's been expanded by about 30% since I was here last in November, mostly in these sort of outer line claim blocks. But the real focus is what we call the highway zone. You can see most of those yellow dots and yellow stars are focused in the eastern portion of the Shot Rock property. We have, the highest samples are up to 1,000 ppb gold and sediment samples come from the highway zone. But you also have another zone where there's a very, very distinct pathfinder elements, again, commonly associated with these type of deposits. And we think that may be hiding another series of blind epithermal systems. So following up on those very highly anomalous stream sediment samples, we quickly started locating numerous boulders, mostly in the rivers in the area. All these had a classic low sulfidation epithermal signature. And a lot of this was in the crustiform, colliform banding, things like belated calcite and chalcedony and jasperoid. And these are all classic indications of low sulfidation epithermal systems. As I say, initially all these were being found in boulders along a river, but eventually further prospecting located the banded quartz veins in outcrop, and we really found those just before I was here last in November. Some of these veins are extremely large, up to 1/2 meter in diameter, which is very large considering where we are in the system. And we also see very large zones, tens of meters across, of very intense stockwork. So let's say all this was discovered very late in the season, literally just before the first permanent snows came to Nova Scotia. It's important in early stage stories that you not only look at your assay results, your gold results, but you always want to be checking the technical boxes of whatever system you're looking for. And certainly at Shot Rock, we're doing that. I mean, the first checkbox, technical checkbox you want to sort of check off is it gold bearing? Clearly it is. Not all epithermal gold systems are gold bearing. There's plenty of barren ones out there. Clearly from the assays we're getting right now, the fluids are gold bearing. And most important as well is the signatures we see in the textures of these rocks. We see very intense and deep penetrating alteration around these vein systems. We see other textures, including brecciation, a lot of stockwork, and I say intense alteration, and multiple phases of quartz veining. And that's very important because to form large deposits or rich deposits, they don't occur instantaneously. You basically grow large deposits. In order to grow large deposits, whether you're talking about nickel or epithermal gold, you need long-lived active systems. And all the textures that are seen on the rock at Shot Rock are indicating that this is a very long-lived and active system. So right now, here's a compilation map of the highway zone. Again, that core area we see right now outlined in a yellow line. All those colored dots are representing gold anomalous quartz vein samples, both in outcrop and in boulders. That now measures 200 meters by about 2,000 meters by 900 meters. So we've extended that about 600 to 700 meters from when I was here last in November. And of course, we have several outlying anomalies further to the west and to the north, which may expand the footprint already. But already we're looking at a very large occurrence, roughly 2,000 meters by 900. And I say all those samples are running anywhere between about 20 ppb, which is just anomalous, to 3 grams per ton, or 4 grams per ton. Those grades may not sound very exciting, but it's very important to understand the geometry of these systems. These things are very strongly zoned, and you have this layer called the boiling cap. Above the boiling cap, you typically don't see gold at all. You don't get those bonanza grades until within or just below the boiling cap. The textures of the rocks we're seeing at Shot Rock right now clearly tell us we're very high up in the system. So the fact that we're seeing hundreds and thousands of ppb gold above the boiling cap is very encouraging because it suggests there's even higher grade below the boiling cap. Just to summarize, here is a Google Map image taken from the Trans-Canada Highway of the Discovery Zone at Shot Rock, just to exemplify really how close we are to the highway and how accessible it really is. And I say we're very motivated to get this thing moving forward. So, and again, it's just just to summarize, we have a high sulfidation. Low sulfidation epithermal system. Nope. You're right. There you go. Okay, thanks. Sorry. Just to summarize, we have low sulfidation epithermal systems are highly prized for their ability to carry high grades over very large widths. And I say we've discovered one along the Trans-Canada Highway, within sight of the Trans-Canada Highway. Yet prior to that, it's been totally untouched. So we're very motivated to move forward on this thing very quickly. And I think the last time a gold deposit was found so close to the Trans-Canada Highway, I think its name was Hemlo or something like that. And moving on to our new acquisitions in the Gaspé region of Quebec, we have 2 projects up there, Escort Station and Grand PABOS. And the real focus right now is the Grand PABOS project. The Grand PABOS property, as its name suggests, is located along a very distinct regional fault, as you can see from this magnetic map. And this slide better shows this. It looks like there's been a little bit of text movement there, but anyhow, this slide really shows. This slide better shows why we're really interested in the Grand PABOS property. Here's the Grand PABOS fault, and the outline of the property in red. This is just what we acquired and announced this morning. These 2 red dots are 100,000 ppb gold in a stream sediment sample. That's 100 grams per ton or 3 ounces per ton in a stream sediment sample. Yet we see no evidence of any sustained exploration in this area whatsoever. Furthermore, we have up here 14 grams per ton over 2.5 meters in an overburden sample. So that's basically half an ounce a ton in overburden, and yet there's been no sustained exploration along this fault portion whatsoever. And the property is located very strategically along the slight bow in the fault. We think that's important. I say that's a dilatant zone. That's where your mineralized influence are sort of going to run to and get trapped in this slight flexure in the fault zone. So I say very high-grade stream sediment samples, exceptionally high-grade, but almost no exploration, or certainly no sustained exploration. And one of the interesting things that I started thinking about when flying here the other night was, I say there's 14 grams per ton or half an ounce per ton over 2.5 meters in overburden. If you have 2,000 tons of that material, that's about 1,000 ounces, or $1.6 million Canadian. And 2,000 tons is not very much. It's about the size of this room, 2 meters deep, 2.5 meters deep. You can rip that out in a backhoe in about an afternoon. It'll take longer to process it, but one of our thoughts right now is that some of that overburden might actually provide a financing for Northern Shield down the road. And I say, it's probably going to be a little bit more complicated than that, but the bottom line is there's some very rich overburden there that could be extracted for some financing for Northern Shield going forward. So going forward, we're putting together an experienced advisory and consultant team to help guide us through this epithermal gold exploration. You should see some news shortly, but we believe we have the next chief geologist from a senior mining company that's going to be joining the advisory team on Northern Shield, very experienced in these systems. We'll be flying an airborne high-resolution mag survey over Shot Rock by mid-February. The initial plan was to also do one over Grand PABOS, but I'm rethinking that with the whole gold and the overburden, and we may focus more on trying to understand the gold and the overburden and whether that can be extracted. But high-resolution mag survey coming very shortly to Shot Rock. And then obviously, as soon as the snow melts in the spring, we'll be back there very quickly carrying out mapping and sampling. We know there's still hundreds of boulders that we identified just before the snow fell. A lot of outcrop that we got to go back and sample and map, and that will happen in the spring. There's probably going to be some trenching as well, both on the Shot Rock property. Clearly, Grand PABOS is screaming for some trenching, and also we have a cobalt property just north of Shot Rock that we'll get around to trenching over the winter. But the main idea is to get the Shot Rock property up and running as soon as or get it ready for drilling, which will likely happen in mid to late summer. So just to really summarize, the Shot Rock and Gaspésie projects sit along this belt of rocks, or a collection of rocks that really stretch from the Carolinas to Scotland. And there's been a spate of successful exploration along this belt in really the last year. You know, from Oceana in the Carolinas, you have Dalradian with a multi-million ounce deposit in Ireland that sort of came out of nowhere. A lot of noise coming out of Newfoundland with Sokoman, and then perhaps with a private company at Hickey's Pond. I say we think this is a developing story right now. It's beginning to attract a lot of attention. And I think it's a matter of time before there's some very significant gold deposits found along this belt. It's easily accessible. The gold is generally fairly free milling. And I say it's a matter of time before there's more significant deposits found. And we just hope that Shot Rock and perhaps Grand PABOS is amongst those. So thanks very much. And again, we have a booth out in the corner. I'll be happy to answer any more questions you have. Thank you.